Today was like a super hard day emotionally, and I'm feeling like I can't talk because nobody wants to hear what I have to say. And I feel like that's when it's most important to speak. So I wanted to document this. I think it'll help me, and maybe it'll help somebody else too if you're ever dealing with stuff like this in the future. So, yeah, it comes down to this thing that I feel like the world isn't awake to yet. And the thing is really kicking up hard that's telling me not to speak, to not even try to talk about this. The thing that unhealthy masculine energy infuses everything, and it's in our institutions, it's very much in capitalism, it's in the like jobs, the idea of jobs, it's in tech, it's everywhere. And I feel like I'm awake to that now. And it's an energy that's in everything, and it's also in every person one to some degree. There are people that have really done a lot of work, excuse me, to heal it, and so it's less in them, but so many people are not conscious of it. And yeah, just today, I mean, like on the mundane level, I'm trying to get this initiative going, right, for seeds, where we're giving $10 million to social good organizations and encouraging them to hold the cryptocurrency and buy Ether and add it to the seeds Ether liquidity pool so that they can be liquidity providers. And that will also help seeds because that's our mutual aid pool. It can be this way to build an entirely new system away from capitalism, this decentralized thing that's ours that we can use for support and to help each other out without having to deal with all that shit. And that's like, I really feel y'all like it's the missing piece um, for what Seeds needs to really get big. There are other minor things that Seeds needs to do to improve, like product improvements and better understanding how to fucking talk about this so it connects with the right people. But that I think is the big missing piece in terms of the ecosystem. And it only revealed itself to me like 3 months ago. And I talked about this the last time I recorded, but I've been trying to get something done locally in Portland where I'm staying right now, and it just wasn't working out. And then I realized like, oh, I could talk to like a consultant, like a philanthropy consultant or something. And that idea just came through the last time I recorded here for the podcast. And then I did that, and I ended up finding this consulting firm called Bridgespan, which the New York Times had written up because like they're the firm that Mackenzie Scott went to give away her whatever 8 billion Amazon dollars. And they're so shady. Like it's the worst corporate fucking fake ass energy. And I was just like, I'm so fucking grossed out and just also so sad about it, because it means like if that is the forefront, that's where the people that have $8 billion are going to be told where to give $8 billion. It just makes me, I'm going to start crying again. I was crying a bunch earlier today. Like like what is the hope for humanity? And I know that's not the case. I know that these energies are going to clear. I think I feel so bad today because this is like a low point before there's more of a clearing. I think 2025 into 2026 are going to be, just the energies are going to be at a much higher vibration. But like what happened, like on the boring mundane level again, was just that I did some research to find like the person it seemed like I should speak to. There's somebody fancy there who went to Duke where I went to school, so I was thinking like, like should I network through Duke or whatever you're supposed to do with shit like that. And I found someone else who seemed like they were a better fit, and I figured out what her email address would be and sent her a couple emails. And I was outlining the idea, and she didn't respond. So I called their office yesterday and got this terrible person who like shouldn't be the front person that you're talking to. She was so weird. It was the San Francisco office, and she was like, it just seemed like a rich kid hire or something. I don't know. Shit. Little, what the fuck did you do? My dog just knocked over a mirror upstairs because he's like all terrified because he farted. I had I'm trying to save just like a little money, and I got him like the cheaper dog food instead of like the fancy ass dog food that I normally get him that doesn't make him fart as much. And he farted this like tiny little fart that was barely audible, and then he was so scared, and then now he's like going and trying to like work out his anxiety by like clawing stuff, and he was in the bathroom, and it's not that big a deal in the bathroom, but then he just knocked over this mirror. He gets scared for like hours after that happens. And it makes me think, by the way, that like so much of where I'm at right now feels like this spiral course of progress idea, which I'm really into because the spiral course of progress is masculine and feminine energies working together in harmony. There's a cycle, but there's also this propulsion moving forward, like in a linear way. That's how the planets move through the ecosystem. It's not that they're just orbiting one another, they're also like propelling through space at insane speeds. And I think that's, we need to be aligning ourselves more so with that. But this fucking world doesn't do that yet. It doesn't do it in storytelling. It doesn't do it in fucking financial systems. It doesn't do it in anything. And why am I going on that rant? Oh, okay. So yeah, my spiral course of progress seems to be that like this moment in time right now feels very similar to where I was in like late 2019, early 2020, just before COVID. The place I'm staying right now, which is this like furnished house in Portland, and I like really hate the decor. Just like as soon as I walked into this house, because I hadn't seen it before I arrived, I saw it online and the pictures were fine and whatever, and the landlord seemed cool, and I've never ever had a cool landlord before. And I just agreed to do it. And then as soon as I got here after driving from my tiny house in Massachusetts last November, I like walked in the door and I was just like, "Oh yeah, I can't stay here that long." But I'm still here because I'm still like all the stuff with like eating disorder recovery is going on, and it just doesn't feel like my body can deal with moving yet. I need to rest more. I guess maybe I'll talk more about how that's going a little later with the eating disorder recovery. It feels like my weight gain is kind of leveling out and my energy's starting to get a little bit better. I don't know if you can hear it though. Like I'm fucking breathing hard just from like, just because I walked up the stairs. It's like embarrassing, but that's what happens when you gain this much weight in a short amount of time. But I think it's getting better. I was extremely exhausted there for like a week and a half, and it seems like that's clearing out. But anyway, yeah, with the spiral course of progress, this setup feels similar to like my living situation in 2019, but it's at a higher level. Like I've gone through the cycle and I'm revisiting that spot, but now instead of a horrible, evil corporate landlord like I had in 2019 in Pasadena, I have a cool landlord. And like now, yeah, I don't like the house. There's a lot about it that I find frustrating in its design and its decor. But it's not whatever. It's not that bad. It's like it's not like I'm going to stay here that long either. And the other thing, the reason I brought this up that I think is funny is that at that fucking evil Pasadena apartment, never ever live at Trio Apartments in Pasadena. It looks like the location is good and it kind of is, but like they're terrible. They're so terrible. Like corporations should not be allowed to be landlords. I don't even think that landlords should probably exist at all. It just feels immoral in some way to have landlords for like subsistence housing. If it's like a vacation property or something, that feels different. But I mean, God, they're so terrible. But anyway, at that apartment, that's where I first adopted my puppy almost 5 years ago now. And we were living there, and it was a big deal because I hadn't had my own place like ever. I mean, I'd always lived with roommates, or I'd been like nomadic and traveling around a bunch. Or I was Airbnb-ing, so it wasn't like truly my own private place. So this was like the first time I was doing that, and I was already like 35, so it took like a long ass time for me to even get to that point. And they would do these fire alarm tests all the fucking time. And I have no idea why they would like, why would you do that? Why don't you have your shit together so that you don't have to constantly do that? And it would terrify my poor dog. He would be so scared. And I complained about it and they just didn't fucking care. And it feels like this this thing he's going through now where he's farting and he's scaring himself. And then he's scared for like 3 hours and is a pain because he like tries to scratch stuff and he like wants to escape. He's just trying to work out his agitation. This is like the subtler version of like the horror that he was going through when the fire alarms were going off constantly at that terrible building 5 years ago. Anyway, anyway, that said, um, yeah, that energy is in everything. That institutional energy. Where else? What else was I talking about before this? Bridgespan, how they didn't reply to me, and then like, yeah, I called. Okay, so I called yesterday and talked to someone who just seemed like whatever. Just like, why do you have this job? And she was so, it was so like statusy. That's why it was frustrating. Because it was like, I was like, yeah, I emailed this person, Betsy Doyle, twice, and I haven't heard back. And she was like, "Oh, I'm sure you emailed the right." I said something like, "I don't know if I had the right email or what." And she was like, "Oh, I'm sure you had the right email, but I can't give out the email to confirm," or something like that, which was weird. And then, I mean, like, I get like not wanting somebody to get spammed a bunch or whatever, but just like, I don't know, her energy, I guess, was a lot of it. And then she was like, "Email the general contact form or something." And I did that, and they got back to me today. And that's the thing too, it was like a nameless person. And then it just said like, um, sorry, this isn't a fit for us. We advise like nonprofit firms. And and this is outside of our expertise or something. And I replied and I was like, well, I know, like I literally found you because I found this New York Times article that was about how actually you also advise billionaire philanthropists. It looks like that's about half of your business. And that's what we're asking for help with here. Although help on the other side would be cool too. And and then I asked like who was replying to the emails, and they didn't reply. And it just felt like this fucking shitty, untransparent thing. I mean, sometimes Seeds will do that. We'll reply and it just says Team Seeds. But if somebody asked who it was, like we wouldn't just not reply to that. Like it just felt so fucking corporate-y, shitty ass, like shady fucking horrible capitalistic bullshit. And that's the best of philanthropy consulting or something. Although, to be fair, that New York Times article did criticize their approach. It's like big philanthropy or something. So I also found one of the critics in that article was like an academic at the University of Michigan. And I found her email address as well and emailed her to see if she could give advice. And she hasn't replied either. So there was that. And then later in the day, I meant to take today off because I really should just be resting more. And I did work through the weekend. I did like a live on Saturday and I made a video and posted it Sunday. I was editing. So, and I worked yesterday. So I should be resting more. That's part of the problem. It's too masculine. I shouldn't be working that hard anymore. Where it's just like trying to do, it's like a masculine thing where I'm just trying to continue doing the same thing and like pushing something forward or whatever. I think that's a big part of what the universe or whatever is trying to teach me to change. So I need to be resting more. So I intended to do that today, but I did do some work. And maybe this, excuse me, this doesn't really feel like work because it feels like it's giving me energy. So I decided that I would post in this like particular Reddit forum that is for like the Fat Fire, if you've ever heard of it. It's like financial independence, retire early, and it's pretty conservative, and like you can just feel that everyone in there is men, like even more so than usual on Reddit. But they're supposed, I think Fat Fire is supposed to be like having $10 million net worth or something. And some of the people in there sometimes seem smart, but a lot of them, well, whatever. Anyway, so I just posted the idea in there just to see if like maybe there was someone in that group who had several of them talk about how they made their money in entrepreneurship and stuff, who would know like a philanthropist consultant or something, somebody that I could talk to so that we can go in. It's somebody who has a lot of relationships with good quality social good organizations who would be a good fit, who can then say like, they can then do a warm introduction to the social good organizations and say like, hey, Seeds has this opportunity. Like we've looked at it. We think it looks good. You should check it out. That would be the smarter way to help more people in a shorter period of time. And we kind of have a short window. I mean, they really should do it now. They really should have done it around the halving, before the halving. But like, I mean, history has shown us, that it's 12 to 18 months after a halving, and the halving was in April, that we're seeing all-time highs. But things could be different this time, especially because we have the Bitcoin ETF trading now, and then the Ether ETF is going to be trading pretty soon. Anyway, this fucking subreddit, y'all, and I know it's Reddit, and it's probably, maybe some of them were bots. I don't think so, though. It was like the most brutal fucking response I've ever received on that site, which is saying a lot. It was like, there was so much cruelty in it. And so much, and the crux of it was like this thing that's sort of my core complaint, or like what's made the last few years with Seeds so painful in a different way and hard in a different way that it's been in the past. Because these shitty people like Sam Bankman Fried, who raised so much money from idiot venture capitalists and fucked it up, it's like I like so much like feminine energy has had to pay for the bad behavior of the toxic masculine. That's what I see this as. And so that gave mainstream people, and like to be fair, these fucking people, like there's clearly some resentment in that subreddit. And again, it's Reddit, like whatever. It's like fucking people, strangers on the internet, whatever. But like I'm also like in my house all the time now and like resting and have no energy. So like I'm not getting out into the real world very much as I'm recovering. But so like I understand all that, whatever. But like in the moment, and just also objectively, I mean, it seems evident to me that part of it was those people didn't get into crypto early and they're like, so they want to shit on it. But it was just so uninformed and just straight up cruel. And then when I'm talking about the toxic masculine energy, like the feminine having to pay for it, it's like I've been hit with this on both sides, and there's nobody else to talk about this because there's no female founders in the crypto world, right? I'm gonna talk about one sort of female founder of like a different thing and problems with that here in a little bit, but which also contributed to me feeling so sad earlier today. Um, but most of them didn't know what the fuck, they didn't know anything, but that didn't stop them from being assholes, which is toxic masculine all over the place. And then the ones that kind of knew stuff, they were just, it was just like, oh, this is a scam. This sounds like a scam. This sounds like a fucking scam, blah, blah, blah. They were like mocking, like I said in the post, something about being like a former professional stock trader. They were shitting on that. Like, what the fuck? And it was just so, it was hateful. It was a lot of hate. Like I felt hate. And I was crying afterward. Like it just was, because it was so much more potent too. Like, and just on top of everything else, it just made me feel like we're trapped in this system. We're trading our time for money. These fucking, there's a handful of rich people. So many other people are struggling. And like nobody, I can't get anyone to look over here long enough to recognize what this actually is and help it to really grow. Sure, I'll get like tepid, like, oh, I should add liquidity to the pool later or something. And like, that's great if the intention is good, but like, that's not going to make this happen. It's not connecting with the people who are going to take it to the next place. And it just feels like it's because of that toxic masculine energy just being so oppressive still. And the feminine needs to shine through that. And people that have that feminine energy in them, like, they need to connect with this and help it. And if that can't happen more, like, does that mean this shouldn't exist? I really don't think so. Like, I haven't been working on it for fucking whatever. Jesus Christ, I guess 13 years, because the earliest versions of it were kicking around in 2011. Um, I've been doing it all this time because I know that we need this and it's already worked well enough. And at a higher level, it could really work well at scale where like people don't have to work jobs. They can just redeem a seed to ask for help. They use the pool is growing. It doesn't have to be perfect, but like we could really, especially if we're doing it with this pool with social good organizations and people know that when they're buying seeds, it's also helping social good organizations. Like Jesus fucking Christ, y'all, like that, it would just present another option in the way that like the internet started presenting new options and then suddenly this other type of business went away, except we could do that for capitalism itself in its current form. It's all there, y'all. We have the ecosystem. The idea I think it's a good idea. I think I've thought through all of the facets of it. Certainly the parts that have been functioning for years, but then including this newer part. I think I've thought through all of the aspects of that. Um, of course we need like there may be specific things that certain social good organizations need that we'll learn about through working with them, but it's pretty cut and dry. We just give them the cryptocurrency, they hold it, and they take a few minutes to add it to the liquidity pool. And of course that has to be a specific type of social good organization that is able to put money toward that and is also not terrified of cryptocurrency because of what they read in the news about Sam Bankman-Fried in the New York Times last year or whatever. um but it's, yeah, so it just felt hard because there isn't enough energy coming through yet to support it, frankly. And I've been doing this so long, y'all, and like that's one thing I can do is I can just keep going. But yeah, I look back a lot and like I don't know. I mean, that helps though too, because it has been harder in different ways in the past. And I remember looking back at those times and thinking like, I don't even know how I got through that. Like just being so broke and like homeless and stuff, working on this. But then also I'm thinking as I'm saying this, like I saw this YouTube ad recently for this like storyteller person who's supposed to help nonprofits make videos. And he was saying that the number one mistake he sees people make is that they cast themselves as the hero instead of as the guide. And then I'm thinking, like, is that part of my problem? Like, am I casting myself as the hero? But then also, that's like a dude, and he's trying to tell stories in like a fucking hero's journey kind of way. So he's also doing the the masculine energy thing. The hero's journey does not like. I think we need storytelling that is like the spiral course of progress. I think we need systems that are like the spiral course of progress. We don't need this fucking like. It's just like a masculine orgasm, right? Where it's just like, and then it whatever. It's like linear. We need something else. So I like I suppose I should take that with a grain of salt. But I also know that I appreciate it. I truly appreciate it so much whenever I see women. It's always women that this resonates with the strongest for me, who like are out there trying things and doing things and running into shit and they share about I'm going to start crying talking about it. And they share about what they're going through. I always feel proud of them and I appreciate them so much. So, I think we need to share those types of stories more often. But it just felt hard today. And then on top of that, it's stupid personal stuff like, like I have my tiny house now. I bought land, did that with cryptocurrency. So you have to pay property tax, right? And this is the first land I've ever owned. So that's like a new thing for me. And I've been paying it, but they fuck stuff up and they like didn't send the bill to the right place when I was traveling around. And their website had the property listed in the wrong name and you couldn't look it up by address either. So apparently there was a bill that I was supposed to pay that I didn't know about and missed. And now they're trying to charge me a bunch of interest on this. And I'm fighting it because I'm just like, no, this is like a shitty government error. Like, make a fucking website that allows somebody, it just needs to do one thing. You need to be able to look up your shit and then you can pay it online. And it's been like going back and forth with like the tax assessor and it's a town of like 2,000 people. And I know it's just like some old person who I've never seen her. Maybe she's not that old, but like just somebody who, whatever, who's just like, no, the website has to be this way. Like she said like she's happy to teach people how to use the website. And it's that attitude too. Like, no, we don't need to learn how to use shit. We need to like put our energies over here to like be in something that isn't shit anymore. And I'm like borderline tax objector anyway, because like, I mean, it's different if it's for your like local government, but I mean, when I'm seeing like faux protests on TikTok or something, which I don't see very much anymore because I don't go on TikTok very much because it's just destroyed by capitalism. But when I would see those, like my thought is like, if we really want to have a revolution that we organize on TikTok, like we should stop paying federal taxes that can then go to like fucking killing children in Gaza or whatever. Like taxes, it's insane. We have no real ability to designate where that funding goes. Yeah, we can get obviously there are the arguments for representatives and like tell your representative blah blah blah. It's like an excuse or something. We should be able to choose directly, I think. And then some stuff that maybe we don't need would go away and then maybe we'd realize that we do need some stuff that that people aren't paying for and whatever. Like I'm sure I sound like I'm talking out of my ass. I'm not a politician. I've never worked in civil service or anything like that. My point is just that that felt like another manifestation of this energy. Like this person is perfectly nice. She lives in this small town. She's an elected official and she's doing this fucking thing that is like, how can they do that? How can they say like they messed this up and they messed this up and their website doesn't work, but I'm still liable for this thing and it's like $300. Like I don't need to fucking make a huge deal about it, but that's how they get you, right? It's those little concessions and then they could literally put a tax lien on the property if I chose not to pay it and then try and sell it out from under me. And how is that allowed? And so much of like in my naivete in buying land and trying to build this off-grid tiny and successfully building this off-grid tiny house, I was thinking like, oh, those energies can't fuck with me here. Like they can't fuck with me in the same way. And they really did hard, like with the carpenter that gave me such a difficult time and then dealing with the town and even again with just property taxes, which actually seem, I think they're pretty high considering. Like I was looking at properties in Martha's Vineyard, which is where I'd want to like buy my dream house, and the property taxes there looked significantly lower than they are in this little town in Western Mass where I own land. And what the fuck is up with that? Maybe that's another area that I need to look into. Um, I just felt overwhelmed by that energy, what I perceive to be that energy. And I don't even want to say that I perceive it. I do perceive it, but like, it's just fucking there. Like, we live in a world that is dominated by this continual unhealthy masculine energy hurting all of us. And we're tricked into buying into that system. And so much of it is because we think we have to do it, because we have to do it to get money to survive. And seeds is meant to get us out of that. And I mean, yeah, if I'm going back to the 2019 analogy, how it feels like, I'm revisiting that point in my spiral course of progress and things are better than they were then, but I'm revisiting certain themes. I mean, I remember getting on a call with my coach slash, like I said, there isn't a good word to describe what she could do because she was so skilled in energy work and just a lot of different things. And I was talking about how I was sharing seeds at this like women's entrepreneurship fucking like meetup thing in LA. The energy there was bad. And yeah, it was another feeling of being shunned, which is sort of what I'm describing now, which is a theme from my childhood. So I know I'm like still, I haven't healed it yet. So I'm still playing it out in the world. Um, and I remember like I was on this call with her and I started crying and I mean, in years talking to her, I don't think this is cool that I don't cry very much. But the point is that like I'd only cried a couple times in years talking to her in sessions. And yeah, I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to make it. I don't know how I'm going to make it because there's just no support. Meaning like I didn't know how I was going to get through with seeds and like take care of stuff like paying my rent and whatever. And it's so much better now, but it feels like it's revisiting that energy now. And like I don't, as at that moment at that time, I didn't see the way through. Later, not too long after, to be clear, also like the idea to come in, that's when I realized I should do the course. And so I started putting the course together, and then like I mean, 4 or 5 months after that, maybe. I mean, by then we were into the pandemic. Oh, that's another thing I should share, I guess. Like, so in that 2019 energy and heading into early 2020, I started testing it more. And this is where that's the thing, because I'll test this shit. Like, I'll see like how long can I go without paying this property tax before it becomes a thing that's like a real problem. Because like fuck those systems, and like we should push more people should push back on them. It shouldn't be like an isolated fucking thing and then I'm just like, oh, I'll just pay it because it's $300. Like the principle of the fucking thing is like, what the fuck, like an oppressive system can just do that and make you do that and then like threaten to sell your shit out from under you that is worth a lot more than $300 because of like, it's just like, what the fuck. Anyway, I'm like angry too because I feel like I'm like fucking out here dying on all these hills, and like everybody should be on these hills. Like we should all be on these hills fucking screaming our faces off, and then shit would really change, but like it's not happening yet. And like I also know that's wrong. Okay, so that's the thing I have to clear, right? That's my wrong view. That's masculine energy, because like obviously there's a thing. I mean, the quote that I like from Buckminster Fuller that I've used sometimes is like this idea that like you can't change the system by fighting against it. To change the system, to build a new system over here, and that renders the old system obsolete, right? And then it'll just fall away and you don't have to put any energy into it anymore. And I'm putting so much energy into my despair about the old system, and I know that I'm doing that, but I don't know how to like, because like we still exist in the world, right? It's not a silo. Seeds isn't a silo. And so then it's just like, but we have to engage with people. We have to make more people aware of this. We have to get organizations on board. And like, if that's not happening, like, what does it mean? And we need to have revenue coming in as well. And so we have the course for that. But if the course is slower, I don't want to have to dip into the seeds mutual aid pool. We can do that. That's what it's for. It's there for everybody to use. But like, that's not ideal either. And I don't want to be in a position where we have to do that. We've had to do it in the past multiple times, like in small ways. But like, that's the other thing. And like, I don't know. It just feels like I don't see a way to not have to grapple with those energies to some extent while building our thing over here, I guess. Because those energies, as I've said, I think they're in every institution and they're in every person. It's a lot more healed in certain people though. So I guess then that means it's just about finding the people that are the most healed. And I hope that me trying to like speak on YouTube more will like start connecting with more of them. Yeah, and I was gonna say like, okay, 2020. Yeah, so later in 2020, then I remember I got like a clear message or whatever to start using TikTok, and so I did, and then that helped a lot last cycle eventually, pretty quickly actually, because if y'all recall, you could like actually get views on TikTok pretty easily, relatively easily back then. Um, I feel better already talking through this. But yeah, I just don't see the clearing yet. Oh, and the other thing I was going to say about 2020 energies is that testing the boundaries. So then at the beginning of 2020, I couldn't pay my rent. I was ashamed, like so many of us are when we need money. Eventually, I didn't see any other fucking options. I don't have family support like that. And side note, if you're fucking single, if you are single and you're a woman and women get paid less and whatever, um that's the other fucking thing. If I'd married a man or whatever, then like I'm confident I would have been struggling with my rent in early 2020, you know? Like, so the system also, I know that the American government does this much more blatantly than like more evolved governments, like Scandinavian governments, but it's like designed to make you want to be married. So like you get tax breaks and stuff too, because the government wants people to take care of each other in that way instead of taking care of them itself. And it's not that way in like Finland. So less people get married too. So that's the other fucking piece of this. Just like, I don't know. I mean, I can be angry about all of it all day long, and I know that's something I have to get out of. But yeah. So I couldn't pay my rent in early 2020. I redeemed a seed to ask for help because I didn't know what else to do. It was such a great lesson. I felt a lot of humility and gratitude. It was fulfilled in like 24 hours. And then I like can't remember the sequence of events exactly, but the apartment was trying to evict me, and but they didn't properly deliver the eviction notice according to the law. And I knew this. And so I was just testing it to see like how far that would fucking go. And they tried to evict me and like went to court. Like I would go and represent myself in court against this fucking evil corporate ass whatever. And eventually I won in a way because it's not on my credit report. I didn't pay them and it's not on my credit report. There's no record of the judgment that I've seen. Um so fuck yeah. I mean, it was a pain in the ass and it was very emotionally distressing and stuff. But fight that shit, I guess is the moral. When I do fight those things, I do seem to ultimately win. Knock wood. It just really takes a lot out of me. It really, really does. But what I was gonna say is that like, so there's that part of me that always wants to test those shitty energies, and they try to come at you, but like, I have managed to I get out of it. I get the money or I get the thing eventually. I'm in a legal battle with Gemini's cryptocurrency exchange, and I'm trying to get 44 ether out of them because of this big mistake they made also in 2020. And it looks like, something's going to come through, but it's been such a pain in the ass, and I fired my lawyer and just started doing it myself, and that was better. And that's the thing, it's like these systems push me into seeing how stupid they fucking are, and then like I have to learn how to navigate them. Like I don't have any legal training, but like just seeing how it's an arbitration thing, and so like seeing how things are laid out in those arguments and getting some familiarity with that law, with all of it, I'm just like, this is not that fucking hard. This is not that hard. And like, lawyers charge so much money. I can't wait till that comes to me in terms of programming, computer programming as well, because I already have the thing where I feel like it's stupid, but I haven't reached the point yet where I've developed enough proficiency to take care of everything I need to take care of. Well, hopefully that'll come soon. Um, yeah, so the energy's changed in early 2020. And that was an external thing. And it really felt like I had this sense, maybe I only had it in hindsight. The energies had to shift enough to start supporting me then. And they did when COVID hit. And then governments actually kind of supported people in the United States for like a limited period of time. And it feels that way now. It feels like I'm hitting walls. I'm trying. I think I'm always doing my best to do my part. Although I am hitting a place now where I'm just like, I don't want to pay bills anymore, y'all. Like I don't want to pay, because like I've done stuff in the past where I went into personal debt so that seeds could keep going, and some of it's still there. And I just don't, if I'm looking at these rates, they just seem like usury. Like, how are these corporations allowed to charge this much in interest, while they're simultaneously paying such shitty interest? Oh, wait, it's, they can do it because that's how banking works, right? But I'm just like, I don't want to pay this anymore. So, like, I've kind of stopped with some stuff, but I'm like testing it again. Like I'm paying my rent, I'm making my car payment. I have a car payment. I didn't buy the car outright. And like I own the land in the tiny house free and clear, but I decided to go somewhere else. So I'm somewhere else for a while in Portland. And yeah, I'm just testing it. I'm not doing it with anything that would show up on a credit report. But like, what the fuck? How can they charge that much in interest? Like, so I just don't want to pay. I don't want to fucking do it. I don't want to be in the fucking hamster wheel anymore, man. And like when you're rich, you get out of it. And like, there's a likelihood that that'll happen in the future where, I mean, I've experienced it in the past where there was just an abundance of funds. But like my Chiron is at like 29 degrees of Taurus, for anyone who knows what that means. So it seems like this is part of my lesson too, that there is like just a lot going on surrounding healing, value, and money and stuff in my life. So yeah, it kind of feels like that thing needs to happen again. The energy needs to change enough to give me more of an opening for things to really shine through. And I think YouTube probably will be part of it, because it just, it stands to reason if I just keep posting on YouTube, eventually I'll find, if there are people on earth that are down who can like really help this get big, they must be using YouTube. YouTube, I think, what is it, like 2.5 billion people are on YouTube or something. So like that's part of my problem too, or like I shouldn't call it my problem. I wonder how much people on earth even can see this stuff, because it just feels like some of it's the gifted adult thing. I know, like somebody was really shitty to me online the other day too whenever I mentioned the gifted adult whatever. So like if you haven't heard me say this before, apparently I'm a gifted adult. A therapist I had in my 20s first told me this, and I didn't even know that that was a thing. And then later in my 30s I worked with like a doctor who specialized in working with gifted adults, and then I stopped working with him. Well, he told me that he thought I was a gifted adult at the highest level, which is 1 in a million or 1 in 10 million people globally, he said. So, like, if that's real, it's like 800 or 8,000 people in total on Earth. And I think it's real. And I ended up discontinuing work with him because I felt like I was at a level that was beyond the scope of what he was doing. And I'm just so, it's internalized misogyny too, though, because women get treated like shit if they talk about that they're smart or something. And that happened recently online when I mentioned this in a thing too. But anyway, um, so some of it's that. So, like, you know, it's this idea of just perceiving things differently and seeing other dimensions of stuff and other outcomes. And you still have to fucking exist as a person and like be a part of society, though, even though I'm barely a part of society anymore. And you still have to be alive and whatever. But like, yeah, it just has kind of made me wonder, like, is this just too far ahead for where we are right now? Like, I mean, it has to have enough energetic support coming through other people to really grow. And that's not present. And I probably just need to go to bed. I'm tired. I think I just need to rest more, get more into receptivity. And I should do another Vipassana self course. I did one in April at this little house I'm staying in, and it really, really helped. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, so I should do that because I'm so full of hate right now. I'm just full of like hate and ill will for that energy. And it's just, it doesn't help. People can feel it and they don't know what it fucking is. They think it's something else or like whatever. It's at that energy in them, but like people aren't making just, they aren't making that kind of distinction. And I don't want to have it. It's just, it's a burden to be hateful. even if it's, coming from lots and lots of instances of like horrific abuse and stuff. It just, you got to forgive to free yourself from that. And so maybe that's the big thing that's coming up right now to try and help me like really escape being so angry about this and being so sad about it. It's cuz it's like a when I go into it, it's like it's really just like a deep despair. Like this is what this world is. It's not any more evolved than that right now. There isn't much here. There's no real place for me here because like this world can't see what I'm offering. Some people can kind of see it, but it's not enough support for it to truly manifest. And that doesn't make me suicidal, but it makes me like just feel like, why am I here? Like, what is the point of this place? Like, I know it's changed a lot already, this world, even in my lifetime, but it's just so, I just feel like I want to go back to where I can feel it. Like the place wherever I was before with people that I knew before feels, when I worked with Taya, that coach that I talked about who could do past life regressions, we would see these, they were like otherworldly beings. We called them my beings. I can feel them. There's something associated with like the front right of my head. And I have a block there. Like I'll get migraines there, not migraines, but like headaches there sometimes. I shouldn't use that word lightly. I know that legit migraines are really awful and that's not what these are. Um, there's some block there that I think is still there that, and that's like the feminine side of the brain. And I think it has to do with like when it clears, I'll be able to get more energy from them. And past life stuff with that and being in that place and then deciding to come here. But it feels like I've been here a long time. Like I've done a bunch of human lives on Earth. So like I understand this place and I've taken in a lot of its energy so I could transmute them and release them. Um, maybe hating this place is like a last big one to release. And I don't hate Earth. Earth is beautiful. It has the nature is beautiful. Like so much of what can happen here is amazing. I hate the society, the level of progress in the society. It's like it should be so much further along, I feel, and I think capitalism is the big barrier to that. And so Seeds, that's like why Seeds is addressing that. The biggest barrier. Seeds is more than just a fucking tech organization. It's like literally trying to evolve past capitalism. Okay. I guess I'll stop there. I feel a little better. I hope somewhere, someday, this video is online for a while, or if you're listening to this podcast in the future, that maybe this will help somebody else. Just keep going. Keep going. Things can change at any time. Oh, yeah. Like last night, I watched that like kind of shitty movie, The Mist, Stephen King movie based on one of his novellas. It came out in 2007 with like Thomas Jane starring and like Marcia Gay Harden. And yeah, at the end, he does something because he thinks there's no way out. And then help comes in like a minute later. He does something really horrible that he felt he had to do. And then help comes in. And so that was a good reminder when I saw that. It was just like, yeah, that's the core learning of Vipassana. All of this is a Nietzsche. Everything is constantly changing. But when something has, this is the thing I've struggled with in my understanding of a Nietzsche. Like, if something has been a certain way for a long ass time, it can become, and especially if you have resistance to it, if you're not being equanimous about it, like I'm certainly not being equanimous about this toxic masculine energy, then like you have more, you're perpetuating it through resisting it because you have that um aversion to it. And if it's been that way for a long time, it's easy to forget that shit changes all the time. And how many times through history is something that has been around and been the same seemingly for a long ass time very quickly collapsed, right? So I know it can be like that. I mean, who would have thought about what would have happened in 2020 in terms of us suddenly magically getting a bunch more money, like like I couldn't foresee anything like that. Nobody could, right? I mean, some astrologers were talking about things along those lines, but and I don't, it doesn't feel like that's what's coming in now, something totally out of the, like a blindsiding thing like that. But I can feel the front right of my head when I think about it. It's like if this block were gone, I would have a clear sense of that message. but it's going to come in from somewhere. I mean, really, I'm going to try and speak it into existence more so. If someone like Oprah, someone with a lot of feminine energy who had the wealth to do that, um, just put money into seeds and shared about seeds, something like that would be the endorsement that social good organizations would then need to try this. And she could put $10 million of her own into the pool, and we could give her a matching gift. And we'd have to figure things out so that we'd make sure that the pool was safe and it wasn't disrupted by too much money leaving it at the same time or something like that. We could do that with contracts. We could look at doing that with a smart contract too, which would be kind of cool. I'm sure that's already being done, and I'm just not aware of it technologically, like technically speaking. But yeah, we just need something like that, and then that would make a huge difference, and it would just take us to a different place. And I need the product support to improve the product to come in one way or another. And then I need my people to come in. I need my tribe. It's like I need the person who's supposed to help me a lot to come in. Um, I feel ready. I like this body. Oh, yo. So yeah, I said I was going to talk a little bit more about the eating disorder recovery that I'm going through now, and it's helping so much. I'm less uncomfortable with how fat I am. I'll say that. I'm less physically uncomfortable and definitely less mentally uncomfortable. Like I just don't care that much. The fat phobia that I've internalized is like it's mostly going away. It's really cool. Um I do feel like I'm perceiving that I'm being treated differently, like kind of being treated shittier a little bit, like people are being a little bit more dismissive of me. But I don't care really about that aspect of it. And yeah, like I said earlier at the beginning of the session, um call it a session because it does feel like a therapy session. It seems like my appetite is leveling off more and the weight gain is slowed down. I'm probably eating less than 3,000 calories a day now, so like it'll probably get back to like quote unquote normal levels fairly quickly, and then I imagine the weight will start coming off. um yeah, so I don't care that much. Like I used to think like, oh, I'm not going to meet this partner that I think is going to help me so much with my mission in this life until I'm like dropped into this body. And I talked about this some before, but like I thought getting dropped in meant like getting in really good shape or whatever. And yeah, it just seems like it's this. It's like not caring that I'm this fat, the fattest that I've ever been. Like I I feel like I can meet that person now, and I don't think I'd be physically self-conscious. And I used to have so many dreams where I've had so many, yeah, so it's like a semi-famous person. I think I know who it is. If y'all like followed me on TikTok for a while or something, you know who I'm talking about. Their initials are MM. And I still think this. I started thinking this like 5 years ago and I continue to think it, whatever. Who the fuck knows anything, right? But anyway, I've dreamt about this person more times than I've dreamt about any other person. I think hands down. There is one girl from high school that I actually know in real life who I've dreamt about a lot, and she seems to represent. She was like the mean girl in our high school, and she seems to represent like insecurities, like old insecurities. Like occasionally I've had a dream where I like stood up to her or spoke out about something to her, and that's told me that my subconscious was like getting better at just setting good boundaries for myself and whatever. But I think I've dreamt about him more than her at this point, and I've never met him in person. I've been in a room that he was in once. And his energy felt really good, and I left that thinking like, yeah, I was more convinced that it was him. It was like a talk that he gave with the cast of something he's on at TIFF a couple years ago at the Toronto International Film Festival. Anyway, so I've had a bunch of dreams about him, and in many of them I would dream like I would get physically like they're not like usually sex dreams. Sometimes they're very loving dreams. Sometimes they would be dreams where like he just couldn't see me, he didn't know what was going on. Sometimes his previous girlfriend would be in these dreams. I think she's also part of she's here to help elevate humanity too. That's my sense of her energy. And but in some of those dreams where like they would be kind of sex dreams or I would like kiss him or something, I would be aware of how self-conscious I was about my body in those dreams and about quote unquote being fat. And that doesn't seem like it's a thing now, which is so because I mean I was much thinner when I was having those dreams. So I think this is curing that shit. Like it's really curing that internalized fat phobia. Um, and that's so, what a huge gift, you know? I feel grateful for that as I'm speaking about it. And because like the extreme fatigue is already resolved, and I'm not like today, I woke up naturally at 10 a.m. There was that period of time where I was very, very tired, where I would wake up and then I would sleep for 6 more hours and then I would go to bed at night. And then my sleep schedule started to get messed up too. So it feels like it's better. And so what I'm trying to say is that I don't think I have to be in really good shape to like meet this person now or something. I think I don't care anymore, really. I kind of still care, but more like because it's fucking difficult to like walk 2 blocks around. Like when I take my dog out for walks, like I was even told y'all to not go on walks for a while because there was something that was still a little unhealthy and compulsive about my exercising. Because I was like, most recently I was doing like 3 times a week hypertrophy. It's hard to say that word. Strength training. Um, and I'd be trying to like go to failure in these sessions, like with every major muscle group. And at the end of that, I was getting really tired. Like fatigue was catching up to me that was creeping into the day to day. Um, so I was actually told like don't even go on walks. Like just stop exercising totally until your brain is healthy enough that it's not telling you that you have to exercise for any reason. And that was good because like there was a thing where I was kind of torturing myself about those sessions where I would feel bad if I didn't do it and if I didn't do it on a certain day or whatever, even though I was dealing with this fucking fatigue. So like I shouldn't have been doing it. And that feels like it's healed more. So like I've started going on occasional walks, taking my dog out when I just felt like it, when I felt good. But I still have other shit I have to work out with this body, like my back injury and whatever, which is not the back. My back is not better with this like fucking, because most of the weight I've gained is it. I mean, you can see how big I am here probably, but like it's mostly in my torso, like my gut. And some of that's genetic, but also apparently with eating disorder recovery, like you tend to gain the weight first in your gut, in your stomach, and then it can like redistribute afterward. And so having like a fucking huge gut isn't like it's like bowing my back more, which is like not helping my back be healthy. So that, and it would like if I walk 2 blocks, it starts hurting. But I'll figure that out and start healing. I just need to start doing like yoga or something whenever it feels right, I think, and it'll be okay. But yeah, that actually is going well. Like as I'm talking about it and talking through it, I'm feeling more awareness and great gratitude for how well healing it really has been. Um, yeah, I'm really grateful for that actually. I'm glad. I'm so glad that I found this approach where the quote unquote all in approach where you just eat to satiety and you listen to your mental hunger and then your body can heal itself as you take in those nutrients that you haven't been giving your body for years. And I want to come out of this like not caring about what I eat. And that's the goal. That's where I'm going to be. And I'm just going to enjoy this body and whatever. And I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun. That does feel like that'll be the place to like re-enter Earth, re-enter the world, and like re-enter engaging with people in person, which I've barely done in a while. Um, yeah. So that feels green and like fecund or something. There's like a green feminine energy surrounding that as I talk about it. It's good. Okay, I feel a lot better. If you listen this far, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to help out Seeds, you're welcome to visit the seedsgives.com website. Seedsgives.com/help is where you can make gifts to folks in need and you'll get Seeds cryptocurrency and thanks. And if you want to add liquidity to the liquidity pool, that's the big thing we're trying to grow right now. It really just takes a few minutes and it's explained on the website too. Um, yeah. So I hope y'all are doing okay. You're hanging in there. Keep going. If you're feeling like I was feeling today, you matter. You have a unique purpose that only you can provide. And we're alive on Earth at a really important time. I really do believe that. We're moving through ascension. And yeah, I keep saying like 2025 and 2026, I think are supposed to be much higher vibratory energies. We're supposed to find much higher vibratory energies there. So I'm wondering if this is sort of one of the last big painful hurdles before we're kind of really moving into that state. Um, yeah, so I'll see you on the other side. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye.